What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? This is your brother Chief Kalanago Flying Eagle with another video. This one here is not gonna be that long, but I don't know why I'm making a video on this, but I'm going to anyway. All right, because to me, all these things, man, they're just distractions, man. That's all it is. This one here. All right, so let me turn the volume down on that, and let me just get into this real quick, right? Because I like to, I watch, I pay attention, I see what's going on. And I could see that we are a people, well, the majority of our people are disenfranchised, you know what I'm saying? Like, and in just so many ways, I mean, whether it may be from an economical standpoint, um, spiritual, religious, um, it doesn't matter, man. We got a lot of work to do, but lately, as of I would say about 9 months to almost a year now, I see it's been a constant battle between men and women who look like us. Okay. Whether it's the woman putting the man down or the man putting the woman down. Now, for whatever reason, listen, man, hurt people hurt people. Okay. And a lot of you that are actually on Facebook posting and lashing out, I realize it's because of your experiences, because your experiences made you who you are. And I respect it. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, y'all got to learn what's natural. You see, there's a difference in what's natural opposed to what you were taught to be natural. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference, right? And I see a lot of women on the internet, these days focusing about men wanting younger women and all these different type of things. And man, let me just break some things down to y'all. Whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't even matter. I really don't care. All right. When I say I don't care, it means that opinions don't matter. All right. I give facts. I'm giving facts. And facts is all that counts. Okay. Now, let's look at this here. People have to, first things you have to realize is this. Okay. We only have, I mean, literally, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong to love. There's nothing wrong in loving, nothing wrong in wanting to be in a relationship. That's fine if that's what you so choose, right? But people have to realize that the only obligation we have to each other as men and women, and that's just real talk, is to be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. That's it. That is the only covenant. Be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. Everything else is just cherry on top. Everything else is just the icing on the cake. All right. Whether you want to be in a relationship, live in the house with your woman or your wife or your husband, whatever the case may be, listen, all that stuff is just icing on the cake. All right. Why am I saying this? All right. And why it may not make sense to a lot of people. Okay. It's because of this. And I want to take my time and say it because I don't want it to come off the wrong way. All right. Let me explain something to y'all, my sisters. Okay. Me personally, okay, as a man, I make sure that my mom, my sisters, my nieces, I make sure they're good. I even make sure my nephews are good, but I'm very protective of the women in my family. Okay. I live in Brooklyn and they live in Mount Vernon. I come all the way to Mount Vernon, and spend at least 4 or 5 days, okay, every single week to make sure that they are okay. Whether I got to drop them somewhere, I got to do things around the house because that's just me. That's a choice that I made. Now, am I obligated to do this? No, I'm not obligated, but I do it. Okay. So, with that being said, no woman should tell a man, a real man, okay? Well, let me put it, if you're a man, you're real. Because there's a difference between male and men, and there's a difference between female and women. So I'm talking about man. If you are a man, nobody have to explain to you that to it's not an obligation, but nobody should explain to you that you have to make sure the women in your family are good. All right. That is just it's an automatic thing that we made a decision to do, right? Why am I saying all this? because there's a differentiation and a distinction between a male. I'm gonna say it again: a male and a man, and a female and a woman. Is two different species or two different state of minds. Okay, so like I said, as a man, I don't have to wait for anybody to tell me to do things for the women in my family. I don't have to, because that's just, I feel as the man, I'm supposed to take that role. Okay, but don't get it twisted. Okay, with a man have to do this and a man have to do that. Nobody have to do anything. People do it because they choose to. All right, people do it because they choose to. And looking on Facebook with all this going back to why men, going after younger women, what I'm saying, or they leaving older women for younger women. Watch out. Would you guys have to understand something? And I'm talking to my sisters now. Okay. A man's job, okay, is to once again be fruitful and multiply. Okay. And part of the woman's job is to be a facilitator in that. Okay. That's our job, to come together as a unit. Okay. There was no such thing as getting a marriage license and wedding rings and all that. All that stuff is commercial. Okay. And I've done videos on that. All that stuff is commercial. All it does is give the government the right, okay, the right, a statutorial right to get into your business and control your family structure. And anytime you have children under these marriage licenses, your children belongs to the government. That's facts. Period. Okay? The further back you go into antiquity, whenever you entered a woman, that woman became your wife, hypothetically speaking. Okay? You didn't have to have a piece of paper. It was just an automatic sense of responsibility. It was more responsibility opposed to obligation. Okay? So, women nowadays, a lot of y'all getting upset about men wanting younger women. Let me tell y'all something. Okay? Whenever you get to a certain age, you cannot make children. All right? And a man could make children until he died. Now, let me ask you a question. And I'm asking you to take your emotions out of all of this, right? If you cannot have any more children and your man want more children, what are you going to do? What is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to, what? Abandon what he feels as an obligation to you because you cannot have more children? So obviously he's going to want to have children or be with a woman that's fertile. It just is what it is. But you see, a lot of you get into your emotions, okay, and men too, putting this status of claim on people. Nobody owns anybody. And because there is no balance and you were not taught properly, and when I say taught properly, I'm talking about the culture, okay, then you take it to the extreme. Well, if a man is going to do this, well, I'm going to do that. It doesn't have to be that way. The same thing as a man. If a woman is going to do this, well, I'm going to do that. No. There were communities, okay, where women would have their children and be in the communities by themselves, and men would be in communities by themselves. And there were communities where after the women had the children, the men would take the children and go away for 6 months, especially the boys, and teach them how to be men. And the women would keep the daughters and teach them how to be women. And even at some point, 2 or 3 months out of that 6 months, even the women, the girls would go with the men to learn about survival and tactics, about warfare. That was the culture. You feel me? Now, not every culture practiced polygamy, but that was part of the culture. You see what I'm saying? So the only problem I have is this, okay, is the covenant that you make with your boyfriends, your husbands. A message to men out there, okay? A lot of you succumb yourselves to the pressure of society. To prove your love, you got to get a $20,000 or $40,000 ring. To prove your love, you have to get married and go to a pastor, you know what I'm saying, to get married, not realizing that all religion or all churches are institutionalized extensions of the government. Okay, that's why they have 501c3s. Okay, they work state and government, I mean, church and government or church and state, they work hand in hand. They are partners, they are business partners, and they are all for profit. So if you don't realize the church is also a trap house for the government, then you will not get that. Okay, you will not get it. So that's why you're being subjected, okay, or you are becoming subjects of the state because of all those institutions. Why am I saying all this? I'm saying all this to say this, okay? Check this out. A man's job, period, is to get you pregnant. Let's just keep it real. That's just the bottom line. To get you pregnant and allow, these energies to manifest and come here to have their own experience. Okay, that is the deal. Okay, what you don't realize is man and woman, we are of one. We are of one body, although separate, but we are of one body. Okay, and the purpose of the separation of that body is to allow other entities to come through us, not from us. Okay, because coming from means there was a beginning. Coming through means it's a journey. Okay, meaning that you are of this world, you're of this world, but you're not from this world. Okay, so we are used as, I don't want to use the word tools, but as vessels, I think is the most appropriate term. We are vessels in which these energies chose to come here, manifest through, not from, to have their experience. So that is the only covenant and true obligation a man or a woman have to a man, either a man to a woman or a woman to a man. All that extra relationship stuff, all that stuff is pretty much, those are just physical attributes, okay, that is attached to that covenant, which is secondary. The most primary factor in that covenant is to be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. You feel me? Even you as a woman, if you feel that your man is not doing what he's supposed to, let's take for instance, your man he's not fertile, okay? Then you have a right to, if you want to have more babies, go have it with somebody else without that man catching his feelings. That's what it was. That's what it should have been, and that's what it's supposed to be. You feel me? So with that being said, nowadays, yes, men, it's our job to bring this. How you expect to get star seeds into this new realm, but you mad at men who want younger women to have children? Like, y'all just don't get it. You just don't get it. You in your 40s and your 50s, some of you could still have babies, some of you can't. But then you mad at a man to get who wants a younger woman to make some babies. That doesn't make sense. It just shows me again how lost you are, because you're caught up in your emotions. And of course, a lot of things should be done, again, with what we call respect. The problem I have is this, okay? The problem I have with this with men, they don't keep it real with these women, okay? Maybe because you're not educated, or you feel that's what she wants, and then you put yourself in the situation, and after you put yourself in the situation, then you feel now your natural instincts is coming out, and now you have to do things behind her back, when in the first place you could have just kept it real. And that's why I tell people I always keep things real. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to get into any type of relationship with you and make you think you are the only one when you're not. I'm not going to do that. Okay? I'm not going to do that. But women have to be mature enough to understand and comprehend that what the covenant was, what the nature is of a man, and what the nature is of a woman. You have to understand that. And the nature of the woman is not to prevent the man from sowing his seeds. That is not your nature. That is not your obligation. That is not your job. You are not designed for that. You feel me? Your job is to be the portal, period. And the man's job is to ignite, okay, or activate that portal and open up that portal to receive that energy. It is really that simple. Anything else other than that is emotions and you wilding out. But because men don't know how to articulate themselves, and then you thinking, oh, well, if a man, let me turn to a woman. Then you turn to a woman for what? A woman and a woman cannot have a baby. So you're violating the covenant because you are not fulfilling the covenant, which is be fruitful and multiply. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying all that to say is this. Okay, I hear everybody and I see people posting things and I watch. But again, even with people who call themselves woke, I hear women say, oh, well, I'm going to be celibate until they stop getting younger women. Or I hear men say, hold on to your sacred juices or your listen, man. Y'all a bunch of lost people, man. Okay, y'all a bunch of lost people. All right. The only time we are supposed to engage, upright, with females is to reprocreate, is to be fruitful and multiply, whether it may be having children or also people were having sex to manifest things. Okay, because that's a part of being fruitful and multiplying. You feel me? How would I put it? To consummate certain agreements. That was done through sexual activities as well. So it's mind-boggling when I see how disconnected people are, even when they call themselves woke. Y'all woke from what? You're still a walking dead because you just don't get it. You don't get it. Your job is to have babies, man. That's your job. It may sound a little bit, harsh, but that's just the facts. And you'll be like, yo, well, yeah, I can't believe Chief talking like that. I'm giving y'all the truth, the facts. That's your job. And our job is to make sure that you have the babies. Now, it's a responsibility for a man to take care of his, but it's not an obligation. There's a difference. Okay? It's his responsibility. And any man, I'm not talking about a male. Any man, a man is automatically going to be responsible. I'm talking about a man, not a male, because males are confused and lost. Okay? But a man, all right? Like me, for instance, I took care of my son. Even if I wasn't with his mother, I took care of my son. No matter what happened, I stuck in there and I did what I had to do. I didn't make excuses. I didn't say, well, she was doing this, she was doing that. No. Regardless of what it was, I felt that it was my responsibility to go through thick and thin, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, to make sure that I was in my son's life. Yes, after he was born, I could have bounced because I already did my part. My part was to make sure that he came. That was my part. But I was responsible enough to know that as a man, not a male, that I had to be in my son's life. You feel me? Now, I'm not saying that to detach yourself from your emotions. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you cannot love somebody. I'm not saying that you cannot be in a relationship, but for crying out loud, know your purpose. Okay? Know our purpose. Our purpose is to be fruitful and multiply. End of story. Period. Anything else is just icing on the cake. Anything else is just for whatever gratification. Whether it may be to please the family, whether it may be for financial reasons, whatever the case may be, everything else is weak, and I'm not saying don't love each other. I'm not saying that. But once again, the fundamental of any relationship between a man and a woman, talking about the covenant, is to be fruitful and to multiply. Okay? Because who's going to bring in this new star seeds? Who's going to bring them in? You're 60, you're 55, you're 60, you can't have no more babies. Who's going to bring them in? Who's going to bring them in? Huh? Goats? Pigs? No, women. And it's going to take the ones that are fertile. So yeah, a man is supposed to want a younger woman to have babies. Now, if he just doing it just again, just for his physical gratification, then that's a whole different story. Even he himself is lost. You feel what I'm saying? Because he's doing it for all the wrong reasons. But for procreative purposes, for multiplying purposes, yes. If you cannot, if you cannot, how would I put it? Um, if you cannot fulfill your part of the covenant, then the man is supposed to, if he so choose, he should be allowed to get a woman that he could have babies with. And that's the disconnect y'all don't get, because it's a thin line, okay, between a relationship and owning people and being in a relationship and knowing what the covenant is. And that's why there will always be a discord. You see what I'm saying? Because y'all take it to the extreme, because you don't know how to find the balance. Because that energy, man, you see what I'm saying? That energy got y'all messed up. So you don't have to go to the extreme. Well, because a man is going to do this, I'm going to do that. Or because a woman is going to do this, I'm going to do that. Nah, man. You're supposed to be mature enough to say, okay, you know what? This is our purpose for doing this. Whether it may be to have babies, whether it may be to build a business and be a little, that's also a form of multiplying. Financial growth, okay, to build a legacy financially, that's another form of multiplication. So whatever you have in your contract, and that's the problem, people get into contracts without defining the terms of the contracts. They don't define the fine prints. They just get into it with emotions. Oh, I see you. She got a fat booty. Oh, he look good, or this and that. And you just get together without detailing, okay, the structure of your relationship. Every relationship is a business, okay? It's a contract. It's a covenant. Every one of them. Whether you look at it from an ecclesiastical perspective, or whether you look at it from a commercial perspective, or whether you just look at it from a strictly physical perspective, what we call a carnal perspective, it doesn't matter. It is still a contract. It's a covenant. And you don't lay out the terms of the contracts. That's why you're having problems. Because you get into it strictly with just the five senses, the taste, the feel, the look. And then you forget the spiritual aspect of that relationship. Well, why are we really getting into this relationship? Okay. What do we want to accomplish? What are the parameters of that relationship? What are the codes of that relationship? There are supposed to be codes. What is the constitution of our relationship? How many of you have constitutions in your relationships? A constitution is basically an understanding. You feel what I'm saying? Where's your declaration in that relationship? You have to declare what you want and what it is in that relationship. Nobody does that. You know what I'm saying? They just get together, boom, have sex, and a baby's on the way, and all of a sudden you have problems because you never took the time. You feel me? And that's why you're seeing all this happening among men and women, because nobody's taking the time to build. Nobody's taking time to build the foundation. Nobody's taking the time, once again, to have the constitution of their relationship. Nobody's making the declaration. What are we going to do and not do? And that's how people end up getting hurt. Now, I know a lot of you may not agree with this, and that's fine. I'm not asking you to agree. I'm not looking for you to agree, but it still doesn't change the fact I'm giving you the facts and I'm giving you the truth. You feel me? The obligation we have to each other is to fulfill that covenant. Everything else is just a matter of a responsibility. So my advice to men out there, if you're going to get into a relationship, man, make sure y'all have a constitution. Okay? Women too. Make sure you have your declaration. Okay? Why are we getting together? You have to establish that from the get-go. All right? Are we going to be in a monogamous relationship? Are we going to be in a monogamous relationship? Like, you decide that. You decide the terms of your relationship. Either way, it's on you. But make sure you put that out there before. Don't just get into a relationship and you have a woman and you didn't make it clear that's what your intentions are or were, and all of a sudden she find out you're doing all these crazy things. Now, to me, that's ingenuous. You see what I'm saying? You're violating the terms of the contract that you went into with that woman. You feel me? And men are afraid to tell the truth, or women are afraid to tell the truth. Say what it is. Say what it is. What is your purpose? What is the reason? Now, after you lay out your constitution or you make your declaration and the person acquiesces to that or they agree, and later they change their mind, that's on them. That's on them. But you could either make it even formal, put it in writing, notarize it. You see what I'm saying? So later I could come back and say, hey, do you remember on such and such a date we went to a notary and this is the terms of our relationship. People don't get it, man. It's a business, man. Now, it may sound silly to a lot of y'all, but I think that will avoid a lot of problems that's happening in relationships right now. And you're thinking going to the opposite sex is the answer, but yet still I see a lot of abuse in same-sex relationships. You know what I'm saying? And when it's all said and done, it's all about energy. You feel me? Because if it wasn't, then women in the same-sex relationships, one wouldn't be acting or trying to look like a man. Vice versa. In a relationship, same-sex with two men, one wouldn't be feminine and one masculine. So you are living an illusion. You are still chasing the same thing that you're running away from, thinking is going to solve a problem. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. Do you? But the point I'm making is running to an opposite sex or the same sex is not going to solve the problem. You see what I'm saying? Period. So stop playing. So brothers, man, stop playing these games with these women. And sisters, stop playing these games with this man. If you know, let me tell you something. The moment a woman meet a man, she already know the extent of that relationship. You see what I'm saying? Men, on the other hand, they are driven by physical attributes. Okay? I'm not saying women don't. Okay? More so than women, men are more physical. All right? So men, a lot of them are just lost, period. If they're not mature enough or in their growth or their ascension in terms of being a man and they're still males, then that's the problem. Women get involved with males and not a man, because a man, regardless of what, he's still going to be there. All right? And men confuse women with females. You feel me? Because a female, no matter what happens, a man will be a man doing the right thing, but because he cannot or choose not to be with her, a female will cause all type of problems. A woman will say, you know what? As long as you're handling your business, we good. Now that's a woman. So people are confusing females with women and confusing males with men. That's the problem. You feel me? Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong in having a relationship, a monogamous relationship. No, there is nothing wrong with that. If that's what your covenant or your constitution or your agreements are, then let it be so. If it's going to change, then you do what's called an amendment. You amend it, okay, and then you do an addendum. You add something to it, or you take away something from it. But please let it be known. Okay, deceiving people is not the answer. Doing things behind people's back is not the answer. Regardless of what the situation is, be a man or a woman about it and tell your true feelings. And put it in paper. Don't be afraid. Put it in paper. And once again, like I said, if things are going to change, then you come to the table. Hey, you know what? It's been 4 or 5 years, man. I think we need to go back. All right. Go back to our Constitution. Go back to our articles of, the articles that we wrote, and let us see if we need to change anything. I think personally, every 5 years or every 3.5 to 5 years, every relationship should go back to the table and analyze their relationship and see what they need to add, take away, or whether they to decide if they're going to move forward. Because when it's all said and done, it's about being happy. Okay? It's about being happy. No longer women should allow themselves to stay in relationships just because, even if they are children, okay, and be miserable and be in a relationship for any reason apart from us, outside of your happiness. Okay? And that man should be mature enough to say, okay, you know what? I'm not making you happy for whatever reason. I get it. I respect it. You got to do you, but I'm still going to make sure you're good. You feel me? Make sure you're good. And a real man will still take care of his children, and not just take care of his children, but still take care of the woman. Okay? And I say woman, not female. Now, if she's a female, there's a whole different story, because I don't deal with females. You feel me? But if she's a woman, then no matter what, I'm going to make sure she's good. There's not one day she will go without her needing anything. Because guess what? If she need anything, I am there to provide. That's what real men do. I'm not talking about boys. I'm not talking about males. I'm talking about real men. Because you're not with your child's mother, or the woman that you say you love or you profess that you love, okay, and she's in a situation, why would you want to put her down or want to see her not make it or not be, successful? Why? Because of your emotions? Nah, man. We're supposed to make sure our women are good regardless of what. Regardless of what. And that's what distinguishes or separates men from boys and males from men. Vice versa. It's the same thing that separates women from females. You feel me? And I promise you, you will have more meaningful relationships, okay, if you're able to just come on the table and lay it out. Regardless of what the situation is, lay it out. Because we have to understand we are losing this war because we don't get it. We don't get it. You have Jews, they're having 12, 15 babies in one house because they get the concept to be fruitful and multiply, because it's through the generations you gain what's called the majority. You feel me? And if because of your selfish emotional ways you don't get it, then guess what? We are always going to lose this battle. We are always going to lose the battle. So let's not forget the primary reason why the original people, the original guys, let us not forget why we manifested here. You see, y'all lost y'all way, and that's the problem. And like I said, you so-called men and women that's going around, men talking about, oh, well, I'm going to hold on to this. And there's nothing wrong in holding on to that if the only reason is you're looking for a woman. I'm not talking about a female. You're looking for a woman or women, okay, that get it. I'm cool with that. But don't do it just because you want to be spiteful. You feel me? Or women mad at men because they want younger women. Like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we're here for, to have babies. What part of that did y'all miss? And then y'all go have babies with all these knuckleheads, and then you start complaining. When real men want to step up and have babies and raise nations. You see, that's why I know, man, y'all don't get it. And that's why I look at people, I watch. I'm very observant, and I watch people. You feel me? Watch what's coming out of their mouths. That's how you know them. Even if they claim to be woke or claim to be spiritual, that don't mean a damn thing, because you just don't get it. You feel me? You just don't get it. So learn to identify men as a woman, and learn to identify women as a man. And when you come to the table, like I said, have an open discussion. Okay? Get your pen and paper out. Let her write what she wants in a relationship. You write what you want in a relationship, and then you could make it a formal document. You feel me? Get it notarized. You feel what I'm saying? That's what it is. And yes, Zaz, it's about procreation. And because it's about procreation, it doesn't mean just to go out there and have babies with anybody. No. There got to be structure, man. Okay? There got to be structure. And you want to have children with people that are sound-minded. You feel me? People who get it, basically. They get it. So y'all got to get away, man, from this ownership of people, man. Nobody owns anybody. But I can only speak for me. Nobody owns me. I don't own nobody. Okay? If I get into a situation with anybody, all right, I'm going to keep it real. That's just how I am, though, because I've always been that way. You feel me? Even when I met my son's mother, I always knew I was going to have a son. All right? And the very next day I met her, the very next day I asked her to have my child. No other conversation. I asked her to have my child. I laid out my terms and conditions, and I asked her to have my child. Even before she answered, I said, listen, I would like you to take about 2 to 3 weeks to think about this. All right? And then I will ask you again. And within the 2 to 3 weeks, I didn't even call. And then I called after that. Because I knew I knew I was going to have a son. I knew one was coming. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, people think that we choose our children. No, our children choose us. We don't choose them. They are the ones that set up all the little meetings between their parents. Okay, they chose that. Okay, they chose the vehicles or the vessels they want to come through. Of course, we agree to it. Again, it's all agreements. It's all contracts, right? Those are called spiritual contracts. We agree to those contracts. You feel me? So whether a child decide to come into a well-balanced family, so to speak, that's what they choose. If a child choose to come through a chaotic family structure, that's what they choose. That's what they chose. So all I'm just saying is put yourselves in positions if you want to bring star seeds or children that's going to change the world. Well, not change the world, but stand up and make a difference. Because the world only changing. The world changes on its own. Nobody could change the world. That's the problem. People think they could change the world. You can't change the world. Change yourself, then the world will change. Okay, it's all about self. But the point I'm making is put yourself in sound relationships. Okay, where there's open dialogue, people who are sound-minded, all right? And then you will attract the babies that you need to attract. Okay? That's how you do this. Not because you feel he got nice hair, or you like his complexion, or you feel she got a big booty, or you feel, it ain't got nothing to do with that, man. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Although that may be the initial stages of the attraction. That's fine. But it's not all about that, because remember, the children already put that in place. The children already put that in place. And they chose who they want to come through. It's really that simple. So until you really get the purpose of us manifesting here, okay, you're always going to have problems. You're always going to have problems because you think you own people. My man, my woman. I mean, that's all cute and everything, but nobody owns nobody. Okay? Because anytime people start saying mine, that means you become a slave to them. All right? And to be free, you cannot belong to anybody. Okay? Now, once again, if you so choose to give up yourself that way and be a slave to that relationship, then that's fine. That's your thing. So when people act like they own you, don't be mad. You feel me? Because those are the terms of the conditions that you laid out in the relationship. You didn't put out the stipulations. You didn't put out the terms and conditions. Every contract that you get into, whether it's your phone, whether it's a car, whether it's anything, guess what? they got terms and conditions. When you had to come on Facebook, you had to agree to the terms and conditions. Every app on your phone, they had terms and conditions. Do you know why? Because that's a simulation of the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm or the mental realm, everything is a contract. There are terms and conditions. Okay? And if you get into contracts that you didn't know was a contract, then you have a right to go back and revoke that contract, whether it was knowing or unknowing. And that's why a lot of us, we're dealing with certain demons. Okay, why? Because you haven't asked yourself or relieved yourself of those contracts that you didn't know about. You feel me? Because there are contracts that you don't know. And you realize that certain things are happening in your life. And you wonder what's happening is because you didn't release yourself of those contracts. You see, you have to do those things. Okay? You have to release yourself of those contracts. You have to take the time, write them out, okay, and put it out there in the universe. Okay? I relieve myself of the contracts, knowing or unknowing, that's of harm to me, or contracts that I couldn't fulfill. I am relieving myself of those contracts. And you ask for forgiveness of the people or the entities that you got into the contract with that you didn't fulfill. And some contracts you just cannot get out of. You have to reincarnate until you fulfill them. So until you really know thyself, okay, you're just walking around aimlessly trying to figure out life. And that's fine. All right. But don't get mad at the predicaments that you're in when you get that dysfunctional woman or you got that dysfunctional man. Okay. And you don't know how to deal with the situation. And guess what? You could still be with a dysfunctional man or woman and still have a star seed come from that situation. Because one of you actually is on point. You feel me? It's literally the energy that's more powerful. That's what the child is going to gravitate to. So when you're having children, it's not in your control. That's why the government, again, they are simulating spiritual characteristics of the spiritual realm. That's why when you have your babies, they take your babies because it's not yours. It's the same thing. Like the spiritual realm. They come here on their own. And we are supposed to be guides, guardian angels. That's what we are supposed to be. Not parents. Parents is a commercial term. We're supposed to be guardians. That's why the courts will say, oh, nah, you are a legal guardian. You are a custodian. You are a parent. That's why there's certain things called in loco parenti or parentis. Meaning that a teacher, the school system could replace the parent. But y'all don't get it. Man, like my people just got so much to learn. It's not even funny. And a lot of times when you try to teach them or you make an attempt to teach them, they get the emotions evolve and they make you the enemy. I'm not here to say I'm better than anybody. I'm just here to say that I'm well studied. I'm not aware of everything. I'm still learning. And that's why information come to me, because I keep myself as a sponge, so to speak. All right. Meaning that whenever I feel like, I'm saturated with a certain type of information, I release it so that I could make room for new information. But a lot of you are saturated with the old information, or not necessarily old information, but just with knowledge, and you don't want to let go of that. Release it to make room for that new knowledge so that you could grow, so that you could evolve, so that you could ascend. You don't do that because you're stuck with the same information that you've always had, and you don't want to release yourself from that. Now, I'm not saying all this to say that that's an excuse to go be promiscuous. That's not what I'm saying. All right, that is not the message of my video. All right, the moral of the story is all the debates about men wanting younger women. That's natural. That is a natural thing. It doesn't mean that if your woman is older, you're supposed to mistreat her or disrespect her. No, that's not what it means. But there should be a concession in that contract. You see what I'm saying? To know that, hey, if I so choose, then I'm going to do that. That's why, again, the further back you go, women would allow their men to go have children with other women. Because sometimes, even if they are capable of, sometimes they don't feel like going to the pregnancy. Sometimes they don't feel like having more babies. And if the man feel like, hey, you know what, I want to have some more babies, then guess what? He go find a woman that's capable of having a baby. Vice versa. Why do you think in certain, go look at the older generation, right? How is that your mother or some mothers had children but they're not the fathers of your father? They're not the children of your father. Why is that? And there were secrets in the family where your father took on the responsibility and pretended that that was his child because they didn't want the shame of the community. Huh? Why is that? Because it was something that was allowed. Grown folks' relationships. That's what it was. Not what we have nowadays days. You see what I'm saying? So, but anyway, I hope all this makes sense. You feel me? Because a lot of times people could, misinterpret the message and give it their own twist. So I like to summarize things. The reason for doing this video is because I see a lot of debates amongst men and women that's just creating separation. All it's doing is creating separation, animosity. And if we're supposed to be coming together to build, you feel me? We cannot have all this animosity amongst the sexes, all this resentment amongst the sexes because your emotions is getting the best part of you. You feel me? That's what's happening. Because you want to own people. You want to be free from the system, but you want to own people. Isn't that contradictory? You don't want the system to own you, but you want to own people in your system. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I'm always thinking outside the box. I'm going to repeat that again. You don't want the system to own you, but you want to own people in the system that you create. Okay? You don't want to be a slave of the system, but you want people to be the slave in your relationship. Own them. Huh? That's how I know y'all haven't gotten it yet. That's how I know. And it still doesn't mean that you have to be emotionless. It still doesn't mean that you cannot love. I never said that. Why do people think you cannot love more than one woman or love more than one man? Why do people think that? Like there's a cap on love. Oh, well, you cannot love two women. You cannot love two men. Why is that? I mean, if you are God's and God is love, then why not? And why should there be a competition? Oh, well, who do you love more? Why there got to be a competition? So until y'all get this, I promise you, there's going to be problems. And I'm not saying that got to be the only way. I'm just saying is don't tell yourself you own people because you don't. Because people are rebellious by nature. Okay? Look at children. You tell a child, don't touch that thing right now. 3 seconds later, they're going to touch it. Even if you spank them or you put them on timeout, guess what? They're still going to touch it until they learn that lesson that they need to learn. People are rebellious by nature. So whenever people feel like you own them, they're going to do things contrary to what you want them to do. Because it's natural. You see, y'all are fighting nature, and I promise you, you will not win. And what's natural, what's nature, is to be fruitful and multiply. That's nature. That's natural. And if you cannot fulfill that obligation any longer, then you cannot stifle the other person who is capable of doing that. Okay? You're violating natural rights or natural laws, so to speak. And that's facts. Okay? So I just want to kind of clarify that. And hopefully you guys will get something out of this. Maybe you won't, maybe you will. It's really up to you. All I'm doing is just dropping the information, just giving you things to think about. You feel me? Because the truth of the matter is, man, we need some more wholesome babies manifesting here. Trust me, they are waiting. They're eager to come because they want to make the change. All right. They want to come, put their stamp on things. They want to come and ignite some flames, but they cannot come because of the state of mind that you're in right now. You're not ready to receive them. So the stars won't come. The messiahs won't come. You're looking for one messiahs? No, they're going to come in multitudes. The age for that one messiah is done. The age of Aries. Okay? That's done. So now you're going to be looking for one messiah when the truth is they're coming in multitudes. But they cannot come through you because you just don't get it. You feel me? You just don't get it because they will not come through you. So now you're fighting against the nature and now you're attracting demons. Oh yes, demons. A lot of you have demons that you are bringing into this realm. And don't you think the same way there are star seeds wanting to come and create balance and change things to bring peace and love? Don't you think there's demons coming to bring chaos? Huh? And then you having all these little devil babies, these little Satans, these little adversaries. But no, you're looking for Satan with a red outfit and a red pitchfork when that Satan is coming right between your legs. And y'all wonder, oh, well, what happened? You blame it on the father. You blame it on the mother. Nah, man, take responsibility, man. You attract or you bring into this realm what you attract. And the most powerful energy, I promise you, will bring what it reflects. So if you're not strong enough and powerful enough, even if you're in a relationship or you got into an entanglement with a man or a woman that's not necessarily there or they're negative, but it just so happened that you bring a child, I promise you, it is the most powerful energy that child is going to gravitate to. That's why you have to always be on point. So no matter what situation that you're in, that child will gravitate to that positive sphere or that positive ion. You feel me? Which is you. See, there's a science behind all of this. A science. Okay? You're supposed to meditate. Okay? It takes about 9 months for a child to be in the womb and then manifest in the flesh. That's what it's supposed to be, about 9 months, right? But you don't realize 9 months prior to that, you already had that pregnancy in the spiritual realm, but you just don't get it. So you didn't prepare yourself for that pregnancy in the spiritual realm. So therefore, when you have that child in the physical realm, you're getting the result of your lack of in the spiritual realm to prepare yourself for that child. Because the truth of the matter is, when you have your child, when they are so-called born, that is not their birth date. That's the arrival date. The government chose the arrival date and call it a birth date to create a new child on paper to own you. So y'all confuse your arrival date with your birth date, which is the actual conception when the sperm contacted that egg. That is your birth date. Okay? And then your arrival date is when you step out into the world. Okay? So your birth date is the conception of the egg and the sperm. That's your birth date. Your arrival date, okay? Hold on for a second. Your arrival date is not your birth date. Your arrival date, what you call your birth date, is your mother's birth date. She gave birth. That's her birthday. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So what you call your birthday is actually your arrival date. And what your arrival date is your mom's birth date because that's when she gave birth. So I'm saying again, all that to say, it's a whole lot more than just having babies. Okay? It's a whole lot more. It's a whole science behind it. If you take your time and you deal with somebody, whether you are a man or a woman, and you build, you feel me? And you start making preparations and start attracting the seed or the child, all right, the son or the daughter that you want to bring into this realm, you could literally manifest that. But you got to be on the same page. And that's how you start bringing back those messiahs. That's how you start bringing back those star seeds. Okay? Now, once again, you could be powerful enough to do it on your own. When I say do it on your own, meaning that prepare yourself mentally, spiritually to do it. So by the time you meet that person in the physical, then you would have already done the work. You see what I'm saying? Because we are connected spiritually in the mental realm, but we're not aware of it. Okay, because we are not, a lot of us aren't on that level yet where we feel that connection, where you're communicating. Like, trust me, we always communicate. We are always communicating. That's why sometimes when you call somebody, right, and they would say, "Oh my God, I was just thinking about you." Why is that? Because y'all was communicating telepathically, okay, but you just wasn't aware of it in the physical. So trust me, we are connecting, we are talking, we are dealing with each other on a spiritual realm. We are communicating, but we're just not aware of it. We're not in tune with our higher selves. So you don't see it, you don't feel it, but it's there. All right. So let us stop. In conclusion, what I'm suggesting is let us stop with the animosity towards each other. Let us stop with the hatred toward each other because we are allowing our physical nature, the animal nature, the animalistic nature in us to supersede the man or the woman, because the man or the woman is the spiritual aspect of who we are. Okay? Man always existed. Always. There has never been a time in time, okay, that man hasn't existed. Man just happened to manifest in the flesh to create a real so-called physical manifestation of what he was, if that makes sense. You feel me? So we have no beginning and we have no end. All right? Your beginning and end in the physical realm is not who you truly are or who we truly are. You get that? So let us be kind, a little more kind to each other. Let us respect each other. And like I said, honesty is truly the best policy. I know a lot of times we say that and we take it for granted, right? But truly, literally, I mean, I'm saying that in its most literal sense, that honesty is the best policy. There's nothing wrong in being honest. Be real. I promise you, a man will respect it more. A woman will respect it more. They may not agree, but they don't have a choice but respect the honesty. It is really that simple. And don't just do things because of physical gratification. Do it with purpose, a higher purpose, that is, with a higher purpose. You feel me? And let us start building each other, man. You know what I mean? At some point, we were one. Okay, that's facts. At some point, we were one, and we had to separate. All right. Again, because of this physical realm. But we allow this separation to become too carnal, too animalistic. You feel me? And we lost our true sense of who we are. So if we're going to call ourselves the gods, or we're going to call ourselves the royals, or whatever, the nobles, whatever we call ourselves, right? You have, if you truly know what the nobles did, okay, then you will understand that. You feel me? You'll understand that. You'll get that. All right. So y'all, I promised that second video. So here it is. And I guess I'll be talking to y'all some other time. But we got a lot of work to do, man. We got a lot of work to do. And that's another reason why there are so many dysfunctional children, because the adults don't get it. They just don't get it. Because two parents aren't together, it doesn't mean that a child cannot be a sound child. It doesn't mean that you cannot have a sound daughter or a son. It doesn't mean that, right? But it's because you are dysfunctional yourself. You are raising dysfunctional children because you just haven't gotten it. So make sure you lay out your constitutions. Make sure you have your declarations. Make sure after 2 to 3, 3.5 to 4, just like a business, okay? In a business, do you know that the federal government give you at least 3.5 to 5 years, okay, to not make a profit? And that's a relationship. So it's the same thing in relationships. You see, nobody's making provisions for the bad debts. Everybody want everything to be perfect. You feel me? And start blaming, casting blames. But you never make the provisions. You don't have a balance sheet. You don't come together and say, okay, you know what? We've been together for 2-3 years now. Okay, boom. Here's the balance sheet. What are the good things, in the relationship? What are the bad things in the relationship? What needs to stay? What needs to go? Nobody does that. So by the time you see it's not working out, you have all this built up animosity, and now it's a disaster about to happen. And that's what's going on. That's what's going on. There's no structure, man. You feel me? There's no structure. All right. And men are losing their position as the head of the home. I hear a lot of women, you know what I'm saying? You hear the whole thing about the head of the home, then you get into your emotions. Now, the man is the head of the home. It doesn't mean that he's supposed to own you or control you. That's not what it means. Okay? But that is the nature of a man. Anytime you take away that from a man, he's no longer a man. Again, it doesn't mean that he's controlling. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean that, oh, you got to do it. No, that's not what it means. It's symbolic. It's symbolic. And the man should always be the head of the home. Why do you think when the government took that away from us, look what happened? Huh? Once again, let's go back to Good Times. Go look at Good Times. When they took James out of the picture, they gave you a simulation of what was happening in the family structure. Because y'all think the man shouldn't be the head of the home. That's the problem with this so-called independent women nowadays. If I have my woman, yes, of course I want my woman to be independent. But I don't want her to be independent from me. She got to be interdependent with me. See, there's a difference. And that's how the words got y'all messed up, because y'all live in a spell. You want to be independent when the truth of the matter is we don't live in a world that's independent. We live in a world that's interdependent, because you don't know what independence means. Independent means that you should not need anything from anybody or anyone, period. But whenever you hear about independency, you always associate that with not needing a man. That's how jacked up y'all are. You feel me? But yet still you got to go to work and your boss is a man. You got to go to church and your pastor is a man. You just don't want the man. You just don't want to be subjected to the man in the house, but you want to be subjected to the boss. You want to be subjected to the pastor. So yes, I want my woman to be independent, meaning that if I'm not around, she could hold her own. Or if for some reason I'm incapacitated for whatever reason, she's able to make those decisions, sound decisions. That to me is independency. But I don't want her to be independent of me. I want her to be interdependent with me. And interdependency means working together to create a greater goal or a greater good. That's the relationship that I want. You feel me? Not screaming independent and not giving me my respect as the man in the home. And that's what differentiates a woman from a female. Most females want to be independent. You feel me? And like I said, there's nothing wrong in being independent, but know what it means. Everything has and supposed to have a symbiotic relationship. Okay? A give and take. That is called interdependency. Go look up those two words, interdependency and independent. And then you will get a clear picture of what I'm saying. And that's all it is. All right. So once again, let us be kind to each other. Let us handle our affairs. You get into a relationship, lay your cards on the table. Don't be afraid. The truth of the matter is everything is already done. Before you met that person, you already met them. Before you said your first hi, you had already said your first hi in another realm. Okay? Before you bought them that first meal in that restaurant, you had already taken them on a spiritual date. You see, y'all don't get this because y'all don't know how to date spiritually. Okay? Because you're not connected like that. You feel me? Before that first kiss, you didn't know what it felt like to have that spiritual kiss. Because you're dwelling strictly in the physical realm. And that's the problem. Even for those of you who claim to be woke, you still don't get it. So, y'all enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go take my nieces to the laundromat. See, that's what real men do. Okay, my niece come from work 12 o'clock at night. Unc, I'm done work. My phone stay on until she comes from work. Okay, I don't close my eyes until she's in the house. And guess what? She's in her 20s. You feel me? That's what real men do. We make sure we take care of our women that's in our homes. My mom, same thing. I move the earth for her. Or the women in my life. I do the same thing for them. Because again, you don't have to teach a man responsibility, but you have to teach males responsibility. You don't have to teach a woman responsibility, but you have to teach females responsibility. That's the difference. And when men step up from being boys and males, then our women will no longer want to be females. You see, it goes hand in hand. You see what I'm saying? It goes hand in hand. They react to the things that the males do. So males are being males, so they want to be females. But women attract men, and men attract women. I'll leave on that note. I'm out.